Have you ever made a promise so heavy it followed you long after the moment had passed? Some promises aren't chains placed upon us. They're chains we wrap around ourselves. In a quiet village wrapped in morning mist and gentle winds, there lived a man and his beloved wife. Their love was simple but deep, the kind that made silence feel full. They spent their days in quiet companionship, sharing meals, laughter, and the comfort of knowing they had each other. But fate, as it often does, disrupted their harmony. The wife fell ill, seriously ill. Doctors shook their heads. Remedies failed. As her final moments approached, the air grew heavy in their small home. Lying on her deathbed with a trembling hand wrapped around her husband's, she whispered a request, not out of malice, but fear. "I love you more than words," she said, her voice thin as air. "But promise that after I die you'll never love another woman. If you do, I'll have to come back and haunt you." Her eyes searched his. He nodded through tears, not thinking of the future, only the unbearable now. And just like that, she was gone. He had no idea that the words he spoke in grief would become the seed of something far more haunting than he ever imagined. He had no idea that the words he spoke in grief would become the seed of something far more haunting than he ever imagined. In the beginning, he kept his word. Grief consumed him. The village went on with its rhythms, morning bells, market chatter, evening songs, but he moved through it all like a ghost himself. He avoided company, turned away from friends, and let the seasons pass in quiet mourning. Each night, he lay, awake beside the space she once filled, hearing her voice in the silence, replaying her last request again and again. But time, as it always does, softened the edges of pain. Loneliness crept in like cold wind through a broken window. Months later, he met someone, a kind, gentle woman who asked nothing from him but presence. Slowly, he allowed himself to smile, to speak, to feel warmth again. Love returned, not in a blaze but in small flickers. Eventually, he proposed, thinking perhaps she would understand. Perhaps the dead let go when the living choose to heal. But on the night of their engagement, the past came knocking. As he drifted into sleep, a cold wind stirred in the room. And there she stood, pale, silent, and staring. The ghost of his late wife had returned. The ghost of his late wife had returned. She hovered near the foot of the bed, her eyes no longer filled with the love he remembered, but with sorrow twisted into something darker. Disappointment, betrayal, perhaps even rage. Her voice echoed in the silence. "You broke your promise." The words weren't shouted, but they pierced deeper than any scream. He sat frozen, heart pounding in his chest, unable to respond. The room, once warm with hope, turned icy with guilt. From that night on, she came again, and again. Every evening as dusk turned to night, she appeared, sometimes standing silently by the window, other times recounting every moment he had spent with his fiancée. "You laughed over tea. This morning," she'd say, "you held her hand at the river. You whispered you loved her." The details were chillingly exact. It was as if she had been there, watching, listening, absorbing every word, every movement. He began to unravel. Sleep became a memory. Peace became impossible. He wondered, was this truly her? Or was something inside him keeping her alive? A guilt so strong it had given birth to a ghost? A guilt so strong it had given birth to a ghost? Desperate for answers, he wandered through sleepless nights and restless days, until one morning, as the fog clung to the hills, he walked to the edge of the village, to a secluded cottage where an old Zen master lived in quiet solitude. With trembling hands and hollow eyes, he poured out everything: the promise, the love, the ghost that knew too much. The master listened without interruption, his gaze calm, his breath steady. When the story ended, he didn't offer comfort. He offered clarity. "This ghost," the master said gently, "is clever but not invincible. I will give you a way, not to fight it but to see through it." That night, as the ghost appeared and began her litany of the day's events, the man didn't shrink. He didn't run. Instead, he sat upright and met her gaze. "You are truly powerful," he said. "You know everything. There's nothing I can hide from you." She stared back, her form steady, unwavering. "But I have one question," he added. "Answer it truthfully, and I will break my engagement and remain alone forever." Her eyes narrowed, curious and confident. "Ask," she said. "Ask," she said. Without breaking eye contact, the man reached beside him and pulled out a cloth bag filled with dry beans, something so ordinary, so unremarkable, yet perfect for what he needed. He plunged his hand inside and grabbed a handful, closing his fist tightly around them. Raising it slowly, he looked at the ghost and said, "Tell me exactly how many beans I'm holding." The room fell silent. The ghost's expression shifted. First, puzzled, then uncertain. Her lips parted, but no answer came. Her confidence faded, and for the first time she looked lost. She stared at his hand as if trying to see through flesh and thought, but she couldn't, because even he didn't know the number, and that's when the truth pierced the illusion. With a soundless gasp, the ghost began to fade. No cries. No farewell. Just a quiet vanishing like fog burning away at dawn. She never returned. In the silence that followed, he finally understood. She hadn't been a ghost of the afterlife, but a ghost of his own making. A reflection of guilt, fear, and the weight of a promise that had long expired. When he stopped feeding it with certainty and memory, it had no more power. Fear, after all, is only as real as we let it be.